Thanks for checking out this video. So when I'm shooting this, the information has just come out that The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs Season 6 has just been renewed. And a lot of us knew this was happening, that we were going to get this, but there have been a bunch of changes, and I was thinking about the changes and my thoughts on the changes. So I just kind of wanted to put something kind of quick out just to kind of start a conversation, because the big thing is I have my channel because I can't talk to anyone about nerdy horror stuff where I live. I just don't know those people. And I don't like to go on Facebook and do things that way necessarily. I think that this is kind of more personal and more fun. So I was excited about this. I will tell you that the changes I think are overall extremely positive. Although I know there will be people who don't like it, and that's fine. You know, we're all entitled to our opinions on that, and you can let me know if you do or don't like it in the comments, and you know, your thoughts on that. Like, why do you like it? Why don't you like it? But I'll lay out a few of the reasons I do like it and just talk about some of the facts of what's going to be going on with The Last Drive-In going forward. So with the press release, one of the things that was confirmed is what is left of the current, well, what Joe Bob we're going to get before the season 6 starts. So it is confirmed that we all know we're getting the two specials in October. We're getting the one on the 10th for Halloween. I think that's the only movie he's covering. And then we're getting the one on the 20-somethingth. I'm sorry. I'd have to relook at it. But, and that's, you know, his big Halloween festivity thing that he does every single year. And that'll be fun. I'm sure it'll be a double feature. And then they said that there will also be one in December, which there usually is one for Christmas, which will be a lot of fun. And then there will be a Valentine's Day one in February. So after that is when season 6 is going to end up starting in March. Now, typically before, we had been getting the start of the new seasons in April, and it was usually like late April. And they would run, well, for a while, they were running for 9 consecutive weeks. Then this year, they were doing a chunk of 4 weeks, or I think it was 5 weeks, and then about a month break, and then the last 4 weeks, a chunk of that, which I was fine with that. Now, what they're moving it to is going to be doing every other week, every other Friday. I assume they're going to keep it at 9 p.m., which I'm extremely excited about, because I don't want them to, I mean, they could move it up, but I don't think they would move it up just because of the fact that, you know, they have the West Coast to think about, and you just don't want to start it too early on a Friday because people would still be at work. But I'm glad that they're not thinking of moving it even later. I don't believe so, because it's hard for me to stay up. But so what they're going to do is it's going to be every other Friday, and they're going to be doing over 30 titles. So this is it's the most movies that Joe Bob has ever covered. Now, they're not going to be doing double features anymore. It's going to be just single titles. From what this was saying, single titles for every other Friday. So instead of giving that double feature for each episode of The Last Drive-In, we're just going to get one movie. Which for me, I like, just because, like I was saying, I'm older. You know, I'm in my 40s. It isn't as easy for me to stay up super late on a Friday night, especially after I've worked that week, because I literally get up for work at 5:45 in the morning. I mean, I start my workday at 6:30, so it's a lot to try and stay up for a double feature on a Friday night, and I just never can do it. I mean, sometimes I'm even having a hard time at the end of the first movie particularly if it's a little bit slow. So I can make it through one, that's fine. So I like that change. The other thing is the spacing out and having over 30 titles. So basically, there's going to be a lot of Joe Bob. He's going to be very consistent on Shudder, where before it was kind of like, you know, we were getting those 9 weeks in a row, or then we got the 5 weeks and then a break of a month and then the 4 weeks. It's going to be just consistent. And so I was looking at it, and just to give people an idea of what the old seasons were like. So it was 9 episodes with 2 movies each. So say they started at the beginning of, they just did, and they're doing more, but say they did a normal season of just 18 movies with the way they're going to do it for season 6, and they start at the beginning of March. it would go every other week through the beginning of March to the end of October. Just to give you an idea of what a large chunk of time that is to be getting Joe Bob every other week. That's pretty awesome. I love that. So the fact that they're going to have even more titles, that they're going to have over 30, tells me a few things. It tells me, one, we potentially are going to have Joe Bob year round in this capacity. And two, they may also be throwing in some special double features on top of it, because if you look at it, there's no way that that season can just run a year with showing just one at a time and it be over 30 titles. Like, that goes beyond a year. So my thought is they will have some double features that are kind of like specials that they end up throwing out there. That's not confirmed. I'm just speculating on that, but that's just a guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it. I think it's great. It's going to be much easier for me to stay up for these. And the other thing is, I like the move from doing weeks straight to doing every other week, because of the fact that I get more excited that way. I'm the type of person, and this isn't everyone, this is like a me specific thing, although I'm sure there are other people like this. I have a tendency to, when I'm exposed to something very consistently, I start to get less enjoyment out of it over time. So to do something with Joe Bob where instead of every single week, it's every other week, it kind of gives me a little bit of that downtime to make me even more excited for that next week. So for me personally, I love the fact that they're changing it that way. Now, I know there are also going to be a lot of people who are thinking about this from the standpoint of, are we getting screwed? For some people, maybe, because I know there were some people who, what they would do is they would, pay for Shudder for the amount of time that Joe Bob was on, and then they would cancel their subscription and then come back the next time that there was a Joe Bob and kind of drop it, pick it up, drop it, pick it up. So I get that. So I do believe this was a lot of a business move in two ways. One, they wanted to maximize Shudder. They want to maximize how much they're getting out of Joe Bob for how much they're paying, in essence. Obviously, they're going to be paying him more because they're going to be getting him covering even more movies. But even if you would look at it as, say it stays the same number of movies he covers, but it's spread out the way that they're planning on doing it for season 6. In that instance, they're getting a much longer period of time of his stuff for exactly the same potential pay that they're giving him for the same amount of content from the previous season. So they're basically just stretching their stuff out. Just saying. So I get it. It's a business decision. I get where some people can end up not liking that. Like I was saying, if it's someone who likes to, pick it up, drop it, one of those things. But it's a smart decision business-wise, because it would keep diehard Joe Bob fans, which is probably the majority of Shudder's subscribers. It would keep them around longer. So it's smart in that respect. I don't fault them for doing that. I honestly think they should have been smarter and been doing something like this from the get-go. I never really, I understood the idea of why they were doing, the double features and having it more, consolidated, but I think they understood pretty quickly that the main draw for Shudder has been Joe Bob Briggs and The Last Drive-In, and they're finally acting like they have to capitalize on that. And really they do, because their competition is getting stronger. A lot of people are commenting on how I think it's Peacock has added so much content for October that it's kind of making Shudder not look as great. And, Hulu has done a decent amount from time to time. I hear the Paramount Plus has done a solid job. Netflix is never in the discussion. Their horror is usually pretty terrible, other than what they get from Mike Flanagan. But so Shudder's really just stood out because of the unique content that it's had. Things like Creepshow, Boulay Brothers, Dragula, and obviously Joe Bob Briggs. So him being the biggest one, they've really, I think, just sat down and been like, look, literally we could be sunk if we don't get better, because I'm sure they were seeing that they were having a lot of people who were dropping when there wasn't Joe Bob on. So they were like, we got to find a way to keep this from happening, because AMC is not making a whole lot of money. I mean, they're making a lot of money, but not as much as they used to, and that's why they had to make cuts across the board last year. So they need to make themselves look even more financially viable at this point, which I think this is a great idea, personally. They also, I think, went up $1 on their subscription service kind of recently, some months back. So that, in conjunction with trying to get people to stick around longer, they can make some more money, justify why they should still be a thing. And I know there are a lot of people who still think that they're going to end up merging Shudder with AMC Plus. That is possible. I don't know. I hope not, because I do like kind of having my own just Shudder thing. I don't need all the other stuff with AMC Plus, but there are pluses and minuses both ways. But anyway, starting to ramble a little bit. I want to cut it off there, but this is where I'd love you to comment. Would love to hear other people's opinions on this. Obviously, I haven't thought of every single angle on this, I'm sure. So go ahead and put it in the comments. Do you like this idea? Do you hate this idea? Are you mixed on it? I'm sure a lot of people are kind of mixed on it, but yeah, let me know. But also do me a favor, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I really do appreciate that. That's your best way to support me, just hitting subscribe. You can hit the like button on any videos that you enjoy even a little bit, and hit the notification bell button, because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing at least 3 a week, sometimes even more than that, like this week. But regardless, thanks for checking this out, and until next time, keep it brutal.